Welcome to the Adjusted for Risk podcast from the shores of very, very snowy Lake Tahoe. I think it's official. You can say that we are buried. We got another system of snow, and we're over 15 feet of snow this winter easily. So, like I said, we are buried up here, but that doesn't mean we stop with the Adjusted for Risk podcast. So today's episode is sponsored by the award-winning Zephyr, which helps advisors, wealth managers, financial analysts, and investment professionals make more informed investment decisions. So this week is a big week for separately managed account managers, as Zephyr announced the fourth quarter 2022 PSN Top Gun award winners this week. It was obviously quite the turnaround for financial markets during the fourth quarter, and many managers capitalized on the strong quarter. The stock markets around the world finished a tumultuous 2022 on a strong note, as the MSCI World Index posted a 9.9% return during the fourth quarter. Despite the Federal Reserve indicating that it will keep interest rates higher for longer, investors focused on the prospect that inflation may have peaked and the Fed will slow the pace of its tightening or of its policy tightening. So despite conflicting signals, the Fed saying higher for longer, markets were indicating that they don't believe that higher for longer. They think the Fed is going to slow and maybe even pause its policy tightening in 2023. So while equities rallied during the last quarter of 2022, bond markets signaled some disappointment in the Fed's hawkish tone during the quarter, which caused Treasury yields to rise during the end of the quarter. Concern over the Fed's hawkish tone, combined with growing evidence that slowing economic growth, resulted in a slight gain for the Bloomberg U.S. Treasury 7 to 10 year index, as that index posted a 0.97% return, as bond markets were a little uneasy of what the Fed has coming down the pipe and slowing economic growth. So U.S. equities, or the S&P 500, posted a solid 7.5% return during the quarter, as investors, balanced the ongoing hawkish tone from the Fed with indications that the Fed's pace of interest rate hikes will slow and inflation could be cooling. Value stocks, represented by the Russell 3000 Value Index, posted over a 12% return during the quarter, and value stocks continue to benefit from the higher interest rates as the style continued to outperform growth stocks, or the Russell 3000 Growth Index, which posted a 2% return, or over 2% during the quarter. Furthermore, the energy sector and industrial sectors outperformed, while the communication services sector and consumer discretionary sectors underperformed during the quarter. So here are a couple strategies that make up the PSN Top Gun's small cap value universe. The Donald Smith and Company small cap value equity strategy posted a strong 20.6% return for the quarter. Then you also had the Zena Investment Management's Zena Small Cap Focused Value strategy, posting a 20.2% return for the quarter. So congratulations to all the strategies that made up that won PSN Top Guns for the small cap value universe. So that story was similar, kind of played out similarly overseas, resulting in a very strong quarter for European equities, which outperformed other major regions. The MSCI Europe index posted a stellar 19.4% return. Indications that inflation was finally cooling in Europe as well as in the US, combined with the slower pace of interest rate hikes from the European Central Bank, provided the catalyst for this strong performance. Additionally, stronger local currencies relative to the US dollar provided a boost for foreign equities. Economically sensitive sectors like energy, financials, consumer discretionary all outperformed, while the more defensive sectors like consumer staples lagged the broader market. That makes sense considering that risk-on environment. The following strategies made the PSN Top Guns list for the Europe universe. First, you had the ARGA Investment Management's ARGA European Equity Strategy, which posted a 26.2% return for the quarter. You have the Wellington Management Company's European Contrarian Value Strategy, posting a 26% return. And then you have the Newton Investment Management Group's Euroland Small Cap Equity Strategy, posting a strong 24% return for the quarter. A lot of strong numbers posted by these strategies that focused on Europe. The Fed, as I mentioned, the Fed continued its rate hiking cycle by increasing rates 2 more times during the quarter. So after hiking rates by 75 basis points for a 4th straight time early in the quarter, the Fed's last hike of the year was a scaled back 50 basis point hike to bring its key short-term benchmark rate to 4.5%. While indicators pointed to cooling inflation, a continued hawkish tone from the Fed added volatility to the bond markets. While the yield on the 10-year Treasury rose from 3.83% to 3.88% during the quarter, it was the 2-year Treasury yield that really made a noticeable jump. That 2-year yield jumped from 4.28% to 4.42%, following that higher for longer rhetoric from the hawkish Fed. And due to those that big jump in 2-year yields and the slower increase from 10-year yields, that yield curve, the Treasury yield curve, inverted. That deepening of the yield curve inverted more. Global bonds, represented by the FTSE World Government ex-US Index, posted a strong 6.5% return, which benefited from the softening US dollar and cooling inflation. And it outperformed, while high-yield bonds were the leading US fixed income sector, with the B of A Merrill Lynch US High Yield Index posting a 3.9% return. So below, here are some strategies that make up the PSN Top Gun's international fixed income universe. First, you had the Franklin Templeton Investments Franklin European High Yield strategy that posted a very strong 16% return for the quarter. You had the Columbia Threadneedle Investments European High Yield Bond posting 14.3% return for the quarter. And lastly, you have the UBS Asset Management's Euro High Yield strategy posting a 14.2% return for the quarter. So a big congratulations goes out to all the PSN Top Gun Award winners during the 4th quarter of 2022. Thank you again for listening to this episode of the Adjusted for Risk podcast. And if any of you have any suggestions on where I should go to get away from the snow, what beach I should go to, please send them my way. I could use some sun and beach at this point. So anyways, thank you again for watching. You can catch more of our episodes on our Adjusted for Risk YouTube channel, as well as a wealth of insight from 6,237 foot blog. Thank you again, and have a great rest of your